Welcome to this week's episode, Deep Dive, with myself, Sean Horn, and the fabulous
Pamela Walsh.
Amazing. How was your week, Pam?
My week was good. I took a couple of days off last week, which were very needed. I went to the beach. I just walked. I was like walking my thoughts away. You know, that way I need to like clarity and like perspective on a couple of things that I've going on at the moment. And walking really helps me for that. So I get into nature and I just walk when I need like answers to things. So definitely helped. I was helping out at the Mind and Body Fair in Middleton yesterday, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that was on.
Yeah, it didn't advertise it very well. It was quite like, it's basically a smaller version of what happens in City Hall. Because my sister-in-law, she's a kinesiologist, Walsh Wellness in Middleton, and Killa, if anybody wants to see her, she's very good. To be fair, she was flat out all day. So I was just helping her at the desk, you know what I mean, getting people like and chatting to everybody, telling everybody about the club.
Brilliant.
It was good. A lot of tarot card readers and stuff like that, more so than anything else.
Yes.
It was kind of heavy on like the psychic element, but Karen was flat out all day anyway. She had a great day.
Brilliant. That's good. I was all over the shop last week for a change. So here we had an event at Kildare Village, which is amazing. The fabulous Susie from AU Makeup. I was interviewing her and she was fabulous. So that was lovely. Then I was down in Nice for a meeting because we've got an event there tomorrow. Went to a launch in Limerick on Thursday night, which was fab. And then I was at the Ideal Home exhibition on Saturday up in Dublin.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So a friend of mine runs that. So I went up for a little snoop and then stopped off at Kildare Village on my way home yesterday just because temptation was too much.
But you're doing like a home renovation project now soon. So were you like full of ideas coming out of there?
Yeah, I just went to go and have a look. And it was definitely worth going to have a look. There's a lot going on, you know, and there's lots of grants that people can get. And there's, you know, obviously we want to be a sustainable household. So if things like solar paneling, how we're going to heat the place, how, you know, all of that stuff now is really important to me. So yeah, really interesting. Really interesting. And they actually do them twice a year, which I didn't realize. So it felt like it was a little smaller than the last time I went, but they used to do much bigger event once a year. Now they run them twice a year, which is probably a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's a booming time for, you know, for people for doing up their houses and all the grants that you can get. A lot of people are buying, you know, doer uppers, as they say, because it's worth it. You know, the government really want to see that sort of thing come up off the ground. So yeah, it was. I enjoyed it, I have to say. I have a bag full of leaflets now that I have to go through and yeah, have a good old snoop. And also, as you know, I'm the female founder coach for Image Business Club, and one of my clients that I've worked with through them, Farrelly Paints, were there. So I got to go and see her as well, which was lovely because it's always good, especially with these big events, to go and check out people that you've helped along the way.
Yeah, no, that's nice. I'm actually back I was at a team meeting this morning with one of my clients for a half-day session. I kind of meet with them every 2 or 3 months, just in person with their full team and, you know, support them in that way. But then, you know, just like weekly work on top of that. But it is nice because they were a fully remote company up until recently, and now they've kind of gotten an office. So they're a little bit hybrid at the moment. So it's nice getting in and seeing everybody.
How are they finding that? How are they finding getting people back into the office? You know, because I know
because some of the stuff we were working on now this morning together, it's just, you know, communication and, you know, because when you're going from fully remote to back in the office, it's just, there's mixed feedback from everybody, I think, because some people love it and some people love that connection. Most people are much more productive out of the office because when you get into the office, particularly when you're not in the office full time, it's novelty and it's chats. So it's the chats that you would have across a week, all in, like, we'll say, if you're only in 1 or 2 days, it's kind of concentrated in that. So
Okay.
the social side of it is very big, but people are finding it really, really difficult to concentrate, especially when they're used to working from home on their own with no distractions. So I think people aren't as able to do like deep focused work in the office because they're kind of like out of that practice as well, you know. And when you're going from like into home, it's hard to kind of build that up
For
because you're not
sure.
used to it.
Yeah, I have a mixed emotion with it as well. I can't, I mean, I work from home the majority of the time. As you know, I work in Republic as a co-working space in Cork. At least I try and get in at least 1 day a week. Um, and actually, if I miss my day, then that's what happens to me. Then I'm catching up with people
Yeah.
but from a networking perspective, I don't think you can beat it, to be honest. And I'm,
Yeah.
I'm as productive, I suppose, both. Um,
But I think like what my recommendation was to them today basically was to plan for it, to make it part of your day to be beneficial. So if you know you're going out and you're going in to meet the team, make sure that you don't have a big list of deep focus work for that day, and keep that work for the other days of the week. And
yeah.
to when you are in with the team, to make sure that that day is about connection and information sharing and meetings and brainstorming and having to be together to have discussions. If you need to be in deep focus work, you shouldn't be in the office that day, potentially. You know what I mean? If it is a hybrid model, because if you're just locked in a room in your own, or you've your headphones on and your head down all day, you might as well be at home and get the benefit of being at home to do that work. But have that day that you're in the office to be connection days, you know, and discussion days.
I think companies want people back in the office, but a lot of that is because they want that human connection for everybody, because
Yeah.
it does make, it does make a difference. And, actually I was listening to another pod over the weekend on my travels, and, biggest cause of illness and everything else is loneliness,
Yeah.
sadness. And we tend not to be as sad or as lonely when we're surrounded by people. It's just a fact. So I think it is really a really good thing to see that most businesses now are back to some sort of normality. It's lovely.
Just for me, because like between commute and having to like do creche drops and creche collections and kids homesick and stuff like that, from a parenting point of view, it's so needed to be able to work from home, because I think I wouldn't be able to be up in an office 5 days a week anymore. I was for a time, and it was really difficult for our family because we were both in offices 5 days. Now it's way easier for us. We always make sure somebody is working from home on a day, and we kind of work our schedules that way, just in case she needs to be collected, or at least it's trying to get everybody up and out and presentable ready in the morning is really difficult to be done at that certain hour. When I'm working from home, like the state I'm in, dropping my smallie to creche, I'm like a different person collecting her, because I kind of go home, I'll fix myself and I get ready. But when I'm up and I'm suited and booted today because I was up and I was at a team meeting, but I just got up, got myself ready, my husband got her ready and brought her to creche. I didn't have to think about that. Trying to get everybody ready to that degree and out the door. It's high pressure and tough going in the mornings. But I think the younger generation really need that connection and that learning from in person and that connectivity. It's very hard to see how they will be pulled along and absorb that knowledge around them if they're isolated and in their bedroom all day on their own looking at a laptop.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. We have to communicate. We have to communicate. Amazing. So look, let's get on with these laws. These are the last two laws,
I
not our
know.
last episode, but the last two laws. So let's go to law number 32. Go for it.
The law: leverage the power of progress. To solve problems, encourage and celebrate small wins. This provides continuous forward momentum, which creates an atmosphere of success and a positive sense that a team is moving towards bigger goals. Employees are most motivated when they are engaged with the work that they're doing and feel like they're making a difference. The most professionally rewarding feeling in the world is a sense of forward motion.
Yeah. I mean, it really is that simple, isn't it? That feeling of moving forward. I mean, I know you're probably the same as me. When I meet with clients, I'm always like, okay, let's look at everything that we need to do. Now let's just look at the quick wins.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's get those done. And then those big, huge goals, I always break down into smaller actions, because if you can't see progress, you don't, you don't feel it, it
Yeah.
can be it can be detrimental to the whole process.
Yeah, 100%. It's because I see it in like coaching and, mentoring as well. People are, like, you have to have discipline instead of motivation, and eat the frog. It actually drives me mad because it
Oh, I
doesn't work
love to
for
eat the
me.
frog.
No, and you know why? Because it just doesn't work for me and my brain. And it works great for some people. Get up, do the really hard thing, get it done, and then the rest of your day you've that hard thing achieved. But if that, and that's fine if you're comfortable with the hard thing and it's something that you can do, but it's just a bit of a shitty thing, you do it. If that hard thing makes you feel really challenged or uncomfortable, and there's a lot that you're procrastinating about it, or you're just not able to get yourself to do it, momentum will get you there. So doing like 2 or 3 small tasks on your list to give you that bit of dopamine to say, I've achieved these 2 things ticked off the list. I am achieving stuff. I'm moving forward. It gets a bit of momentum. Now I move to my hard task. Now it does have to be still early in your day.
The thing that
Doing
with
one
the
or two
frog,
things.
though, because you just talked about procrastination and it's not comfortable to eat the frog. And I could, like, if I've got one thing, it's not often I have something, I'll be honest, that I really don't enjoy doing, but it happens. I will put that off and put that off, and I will do all my quick wins and I will feel amazing. However, I could be honest with you and say nothing feels like eating that frog. So by Friday comes and I've put it off Monday and I put it off Tuesday and I put it off Wednesday and I put it off Thursday. I've got loads done.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I really have been putting off is still there. The when you talk about momentum, actually the momentum I have by doing that first thing on a Friday morning, I fly through the rest of my day because I think I am an absolute genius because I've eaten the frog. So I completely agree though, like, but I do like the premise of doing that bad thing. The process is actually the same for me. It really is, because I do put it off and I put it off. However, if it was towards the end of my day, I would definitely put it off. I'm a morning gym goer.
Yeah.
I have
Oh,
to
yeah,
get
yeah.
up. I have to get up.
Same.
I have to move. I won't do that at 6 o'clock. My day
No.
is done and I want to relax. So I think it's what works for you. I don't think it's a necessity every day to do the worst thing first. I really don't. But when it comes to that thing that makes you feel a little bit sticky and not quite, then I do honestly, the sense of achievement doing it first thing has me buzzing. I probably get twice as much work done.
And I've seen, so like, I read a lot of books about productivity and stuff like that. And and I'm so guilty of all the things in delaying productivity. It's the productive procrastination where you're too busy to do it because you're busy doing all the other things, and it's just bullshit because you're just avoiding it, really. But you can't, like, nobody could argue you're not being productive because look at me, I'm cleaning my house, so I have to do this because you're just avoiding it. That's productive procrastination. But I have seen this, and I think it's really, really good. If it's something, and it's always when we're avoiding something, the thing that we have to eat the frog, there's always an emotional attachment to it. Either we think we're not able for it, we find it boring, we find it uncomfortable, we're challenged by it in some way. I always kind of look at, why is it that I'm avoiding it? Because there's always a reason, that it's some fear-based thing. But I can't remember. It's something bridge. God, I can't remember it now. If I'll tag it in the show notes. I'll send it to Aoife. And basically what it is if you have to do X in the morning, and it's like you're going to eat that frog in the morning, you're like, I'm not doing it today now. I've done enough today. It's basically building a bridge from today till tomorrow morning, so it becomes easier to enter it in the morning. So if you just look at it and pick the thing in it that you know how to do and you know what the next step is, get to that point so that when you take it back over in the morning, you don't have to think about it. It's not a challenge. You're putting it down at an easy step where you know what the next step is tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? So we'll say, I don't know, if you're building a website and you have your copy rolled out and you're like, oh, it's making you uncomfortable to do it. You just have to like copy and paste your copy and line it up to make it look nice. That's an easy step to do. Don't do that today. Leave that till tomorrow as part of the project. So that's an ease in. You know how to do it. You're just putting it in something like an easy step within the uncomfortable task, and leave that to be the first thing in the morning. So you're sitting down and you're easing your way into your comfortable task. I would do that when I'm doing accounts sometimes when they're big and chunky and there's lots of like issues and problems with them. I'm like, okay, well, my next step now is I don't know, like I just need to like pull all my statements out and put them into a folder. I'm like, no, I'm just going to do that now in the morning because that's an easy thing to do. I don't need to use my brain, but it will create the momentum to ease me into that full task to looking at everything and have a plan that way.
I just look in the mirror and tell myself to get over it and get on with it.
Pick up. We cannot do that.
Or visualization. Like I do believe in visualization, and sometimes I would just take half an hour, just close my eyes and breathe and visualize how I feel when it's finished. And sometimes that can give me the motivation to do it. But I think sometimes we just have to give ourselves a good kick up the hole as well.
You definitely do. And it's always like 100% of the time when you're carrying something around with you for 3 weeks going, oh, I have to do that, I have to do that, I have to do that. When you've it done, it's like a weight. For me, it's a weight off me. It's never as bad as you thought it was going to be when you were afraid to look at it. Yeah. It's always better.
And I think breaking it down as well. So actually I think it was last week, I had to do some copy, and I hate doing copy. It's not what I do. But it's quite a large piece of copy for a website. So, and it had to be done by Friday, but it was just too big a job. So again, it's that breaking it down. So I was eating the frog every morning, but I was eating in really small segments. So it was easy to digest. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important as well, to digest, make it easier for yourself. The amount of people that I meet that have these massive goals, and I need to do this, and I'm like, okay, but what's the process of how you do it?
Yeah.
What action needs to be done within that goal? What actions are we taking? How long is it going to take? Do you know what I mean? Each thing has to be understood. So yeah, but for me, I think breaking things down into small pieces makes it much, much easier.
And the goal thing as well, it's like the output goal. Because I know if you read the 12-week year, actually, it's a really, really good book. And it's all about, planning like that, your goal planning and lead indicators and lag indicators. And basically what they are is an output goal and an input goal. So if your output goal is to have your website built and live by March, then your input goals would have to be, my goal for January is to have all of my copy written. My input goal for the first week of January is to decide my outline for my copy. My output goal for my second week of January is to have my copy written for my homepage. My output goal for my third week of January. I'm breaking it down like that into output goals, which are the inputs, but they're goals in themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
They go back to the SMART goal. That SMART goal acronym.
Yeah. 100%. But I don't think people do that. And actually, like, also the other thing I say, we can plan an awful lot. I know a lot of planners, but they're not getting anything done.
Because those planners have the most beautiful Notion documents.
Oh, and stunning.
Everything is just stunning, planned within an inch of its life.
Yeah.
And then they run out of energy because they spend so much time planning.
Yeah.
They can't get it across the line.
Actually, I remember working with someone years ago now, and I remember she worked for herself. She's a solopreneur. She might listen to this, but I used to tease her, so she knows I find it funny. But she used to have a Trello board, and Trello's, I think, anything like that, any kind of software like that, project management systems and communication, is really good when there's more than one person. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, it actually just becomes, to me, it's like a Pinterest board.
Yeah.
It's just like, here's my workflow. It looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, but if you'd spent less time creating that beautiful document, you probably would have had it done by now.
Yeah, that's it. You need to draw a line of like, I'm like, just a list, like write a list, a
Yeah,
spreadsheet. You know what I mean? I'm like,
every
I'm
day, my
happy.
list.
And I need things to be like digital because my whole life is digital. I have my work calendar. Gotten to the point now of I've got my husband on board with it. He was like, I thinks I'm crazy. If I have an event, like, or I need to be out for a meeting in the morning, like this morning now, I had to be up in Cork by like 9:15. So I wasn't going to be around to drop my small one to creche, or if I'm in an event in the evening, sometime around where I need my husband to pick up a ball that I can't catch, be around for the smallie. I will create a diary entry, like a calendar invite, and send it to him. Pam's gone. My hair appointments, if I'm going to the gym, if I'm doing something like that, if I have a class, I will put it into my calendar and I will invite my husband to it. So he knows it's happening. It's in his diary and he knows you're on your own here. You're a solo parent for the day.
So I have to ask you, what color is your color? Because I do that as well. So I obviously have like my work is this, but I wonder what color you picked for your time.
My time is green.
Is it? That's
Blue
interesting.
is work, green is me,
Yeah.
yellow is family.
Okay. And yellow is me. Yellow is holidays. Yellow is breaks. Yellow. But
Yeah.
I've actually just changed my diary settings as well because I wasn't blocking out time to do my stuff. It was all like a meeting, client work,
Clients. Yeah.
etc. I'd lost my planning time, so putting that in because like this law is all about. This is about progression, and we all set goals for our clients and the people that we work with, but we have to set those for ourselves as well. And the only way to achieve that is to give ourselves that time as well. And I'm like you, if it's not in the diary, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and I've been really guilty of it recently, not having any time to work in my business, you know what I mean? And like trying to like plan and strategize what I want to do because I definitely feel like I'm just being kind of dragged at the moment, and I've literally had 5 conversations this week with 5 very different people and they all feel like they're not on the right path and they're not 100% sure of where they should be and what they should be doing. And I'm within that group as well. I can say that but I'm kind of going through the motions and stuff at the moment. And I kind of think I'm trying to figure out a framework of how to get a good plan in place to see how to move forward within that and try and figure out what you need to be doing and where you need to be. But 5 different people, all with their own businesses, all doing very different things. Like I'm meeting one of them now in the next 2 weeks, and they all just feel a bit, I feel like I'm missing the mark somewhere and I'm not doing what I'm meant to be doing.
Interesting.
Mm.
I have a great sheet I sent to my clients called Dharma Karma. I'll find it for you. I'll send it to you because, it helps people just in their thought process, in their mindset, to pin down exactly what they should be doing.
Yeah, it's like finding your purpose and your direction. Like,
With no purpose,
this
we're
is
in
it.
trouble.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
we are
people
in
just feel
trouble.
kind of like rudderless, you're on a boat and you're just floating. But I think the problem when you're like an entrepreneur and you have that mindset, you're like, it can kind of feel limitless in that, like, oh, I could go in this direction or I could do this, and you could be dragged a lot of different ways. And and we've had these conversations about things as well. It's like, it's establishing that value, vision, and mission. And within that is your purpose. So, at least not everything might be planned out, but I know I'm driving in this direction. And every time then you come and you face a decision of where to go with what, you just need to check in. Well, is it in the realms of what I'm hoping to achieve and hoping to do? And I think it's setting those. And I'm even trying to plot that out for myself now at the moment because it can change, and we should be reviewing this stuff every year.
Yeah.
More
At
information
least,
comes to light. Like,
yeah, at least every 12 months. And
yeah.
I'm I completely get that. I'm kind of there as well at the moment, but not in myself. Me trying to explain to other people what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because like no one believes me. Like, it's a really I'm about to step in. I'm about to relaunch Be Bell podcast, which is massive for me. And And it opens back up that realm of, in 2019, I spent the majority of my time working in the wellness arena.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm still there. I still teach Pilates. I still do my Sunday socials, but it was much bigger than that prior to COVID. And I want to go back to it. I miss it. So it's important for me to do that. However, how do I do that with offering still? I'm not going to leave my clients just to the wayside. I love business. I still want to work as a consultant, but how do I put that onto a website? That's really difficult. And funny enough, I met this lovely girl on Tuesday morning, and she's a social media manager, but for horses, for equestrian. And I was like, do you know what? Fair play to you. That's something that I can't do. I just can't niche like that.
Yeah.
But that's her background. That's her love. But she loves marketing. So that's the area of which she's working in. And fair play to her. She's doing a great job.
I'm very envious of people like that, though.
Oh,
That
100%.
can kind of
too.
go, like, because I feel like for me, I'm such, like, no, I'm a bloody good one, but I'm a real generalist. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Because I'm really good. Like, well, I'm an accountant. You could say I'm a specialist, but I'm more performance commercial accountant, high level. I'm not in the detail of the tax. I'm high level performance accounting. And I'm like high level like operations, and I'm in project management, and I'm in systems and processes. And I always, and that really feeds into imposter syndrome as well, because I feel like I need to be the expert at something to drive in that way. And I feel like I don't want a niche, because I'll get bored, because I need novelty and different things every so often to keep me going and keep me getting that dopamine. But I think a lot of people are like that. A lot of entrepreneurs, and it's why entrepreneurs are really good at running businesses, because we're so generalist.
Yeah.
We're good at just figuring shit out.
No,
but it's
absolutely.
finding that niche, and it's very hard, because I think it's a great way to grow and to like be that one person for everybody, but it's not for everybody being a specialist either. And I just think I'd get bored.
Oh, I completely would. 100%. But I love the fact that I think for me, it's just like then trying to explain it to others. I mean, they'll get it because, sooner or later, everyone gets it. But I mean, I've always had that my whole life, because I've changed professions and what I choose to do all the time. And then my mates would always be, oh God, what's she doing now? Like, and I'd be like, don't even worry about it. You wouldn't understand anyway. Just carry on.
Oh no, you're like, because friends of mine say it as well. Yeah, you're like, Chandler Bing. He's a transponster.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
My brother said to me one time, he was like, somebody asked me the other day what you do. He's like, what do you do? I can't explain it. I'm like, don't worry about it, Grant.
Yeah. And do you know what? I mean, I have that with some friends. I'm like, just explain it to me one more time. But anyway, look, we digress. We always do this, but this is why I love this pod. That law, progression over perfection. As a Pilates instructor, I teach it every day as well. It's always about those little things that make big changes.
Yeah.
And so then the last law 32, well, it's not the last, but it is the last, really.
It's look, I'm not going to read out the whole blurb of it because it's very big. So basically, you must be an inconsistent leader. It's impossible to seamlessly blend into a team as a jigsaw piece unless you comprehend the unique shape of each of your team members. He starts talking about Sir Alex Ferguson, and I was literally saying this the other day. This is obviously where I picked it up from. So, and I agree with this. Like, I would work a lot with management teams and different management styles, and I studied this a lot when I was in college as well, management. And basically what he says, I'll just read the very last sentence of this, is great leaders are fluid, flexible, and full of fluctuation. They are whatever shape they need to be to complete your motivation. I see a lot of the old school managers and leadership teams. They all have their own management style, whether it's like autocratic, kind of dictatorship, motivational, you know what I mean? They're like, you could go on, there's a list, is it laissez-faire or something like that? A list of different management styles that you can have. And that used to be the way. It's kind of, you would fit what my personality and my management style is. But as a manager, and what I say to anybody I'm speaking to on a leadership team, your job as a manager is to get the best out of your team. So you need to manage each team member in the best way they need to be managed to get that information out of them. If they need to be managed in a way that you're not great at and you feel really uncomfortable doing, then you shouldn't hire them into your team.
125, 50%. What the problem is, though, that some managers don't have the emotional intelligence to understand people's needs.
Awareness as well, even their own, just like self-awareness, there's none of it. Like, yeah, I see that a lot.
And I think the days of like, look, when I was first in the workplace, it was like, that's the way my boss is. I better bend for him, because
just fear-based.
Yeah. And do you know, even like I would say, before my 30s, I was not a good manager. I managed people from the age of 17. I was never not in a management position.
Mm-hmm.
That is in my nature. However, was I good at it? No, I wasn't good at it, because the only management that I'd ever had just told me what to do and I just did it.
Yeah.
So it took a long time for me to understand. And it took a good manager for me to show me the example of what a good one was. I'd had really, when I look back, I mean, horrific management.
Yeah, same.
But that was all I knew. So I think that is the important thing. I think it's important as an employee. I work on both sides of the fence. I work for a lot of companies, so I have to be very aware of their style. And that thing of understanding your strengths and weaknesses and being very open and honest and transparent and communicate, all of these things come into this. It really is about personality. I was on the phone to someone this morning and they said something a little bit mean about somebody. And I said, okay, well, I don't agree with that. What I would say is this: they work, and they were like, oh, okay, well, I just thought that was them being lazy. And I said, no one's ever lazy. We just have different ways of doing things. And actually, they're quite productive in the way and in their style. But I do think, I love that it went back to Alex Ferguson, because we had that conversation last week. And, I know we were saying, if a woman was Alex Ferguson, she'd never have survived. She would have been a bitch. She would have been, just never would have happened in a million years. Never would have happened. However, a lot of the people that worked under him just absolutely adore him. He was like a second father to that group of, especially those younger players, the Gary Nevilles, the David Beckhams, etc. And regardless of when he let them go and how he let them go, because he always did what was right for the business over the personalities.
Yeah, which is a good manager.
Yeah, but everybody respected him for it.
Mm-hmm. But he managed them all individually, how they needed to be managed to get the best out of them.
Yeah. But I do like, because I watch the pod, with Gary Neville, and I always forget his name, the court guy, sorry. Who's the court football player?
Roy Keane.
Roy Keane, thank you.
How do you forget Roy Keane?
I always forget his name. But when Roy Keane speaks about him, he doesn't speak nicely about him. But if you look at Roy Keane, he is still hurt.
Yeah. He's
just so hurt.
Sensitive Roy Keane.
Yeah. But when he speaks, because he's like, but you can see it in him. He's just, and the same, actually, I watched the David Beckham series documentary, and he's not what he says, but he's really, really hurt. They both wanted to see out their time at Man United. It wasn't the right thing for Man United. It was the right thing for them.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't let that happen. But yeah, I couldn't have done it, because I'm a woman, and I'm, men don't have that nurture gene like us. So
no, but I do think it's like the yin and yang. It's needed. You have to be able to make those hard decisions as well in business, because if we are always nurturers, then we potentially end up having teams and people around us that aren't the best for the situation or the business either. There is need for that
Yeah.
really difficult decision making, but I think nurturing as well, like you can get the best out of people when you nurture them, you know?
Yeah.
There's
I
need for
think so
both.
too, but not everybody.
Mhm.
And actually, we talked about this on Tuesday morning when I was interviewing Susie from AU, and I said, when I first went into business in Cork, someone did us over basically, didn't give us notice, left, nicked our client contact list, changed some of the names in what they left at. I mean, just meanness.
Mhm.
And she said, "Oh, I bet that changed the way that you did things moving forward." And I said, "You know what? It didn't. I'll always be the nurturer. I'll always give as much as I can give. I'll always teach people how to run their business. I'm constantly training people to leave me. That's my job.
Yeah.
However, there'll always be a thief, and
There you
nothing
go. Yeah.
and nothing good ever comes out of something bad. So they have to live with that. I'll just keep looking after myself, and I'll keep doing what I do, and I do it
Yeah.
well." And it's
Yeah.
happened twice since, probably, but it
Well,
doesn't matter.
you need some controls in place, Shan, though, like to
No,
protect
there is
yourself.
no controls because unless I didn't give them any responsibility,
Yeah.
it just isn't feasible in a business place. You have to have that some form of trust with somebody. I trust someone. I give people an A grade the minute I start working with them.
Mhm.
I had someone work with me recently. I gave them an A. I paid for them to qualify, which isn't cheap, 600 and something quid. And then the minute they qualified, they naffed off and went and worked for another company. When I asked them to repay the money, they said, "I thought you'd give us longer to repay it." And I said, "Well, I do, but you're not even employed by me. And I've just qualified you to work for someone else, so get them to pay for it."
Yeah.
Um, However, I will do the same the next person that comes to work for me. Because again, that's what I do. I will always give you an A. It's your choice to turn that into a D, but it doesn't change how I treat the next person because that would just be awful.
Well, I think it's hard to not micromanage somebody if you don't trust them. You know what I mean? You have to, unless you want to be micromanaging and standing over somebody and watching what they're doing, you have to just give them that full trust
You have
and hope for
to.
the best as well. Yeah.
No, I always used to say to people, you have to give people the room to fail.
Yeah.
If they don't, they never learn, they never develop, and actually they're no good for your business. You've got to have
Mhm.
people that have that want to move with you.
It's
Um,
finding the A players, like they're hard to find, but when you find them, like even just like working with a couple of different businesses, like there are people on those teams that I'm like, if I was ever starting a business in the morning, like 100% I'd want to bring them. You know what I mean? And you'd spot them on teams. You're like, I would 100% go back for them if I could, because I know I could just put them somewhere and I would not have to worry about them. And they
yeah.
would bring me solutions with problems, you know what I mean? And they would just be able to like drive the boat if I wasn't there. Some really, really good people.
But the inconsistency of management styles, I think, is the perfect way to put it because, we've spoken before about different characters that work for you and surrounding yourself with a really good balance. But you always have to treat those people in different ways. Some people need more nurturing glove. Some people want to drive on and you need to let them go and let them do that. And some people need more teaching and learning. So it's knowing what people need and keeping those communication lines open that people can express how they feel. I work with 4 different VAs and I've got a new VA that's come to work for me. And luckily, last week she was working with another part of my team, but I just kept saying to her, "I can't read your mind." And I'm a lot older than her and I'm a driver, so I just go for it.
Gone.
Yeah, I'm just gone. So I said, "So you need to check in with me constantly." I can see she's not that way. She is a little bit more analytical. She needs some confidence. So I'm going to have to build that for her. But the only way I can build that for her is to build it with her.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important that our communication lines are really, really strong, because she's going to be magical.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, she wants to run a little bit before she can walk. And we were saying next week, I said, no, because what I do for a lot of my VAs is get them other work, with other people. And luckily, she was sat with another VA of mine who I've already got her, 3 or 4 clients. So she was like, oh, okay. And I said, yes. But before she got those clients, we made sure that she was super polished.
Yeah.
So you're going to get to learn all and make all the mistakes with me. And then I'm going to give you other clients when you're polished and trained. And then you won't be, but I'll always be here as your mentor.
Yeah. And that's important, that feedback loop. And literally, it's one of the conversations I was having this morning is communication. It's so bloody important. And it's really neglected in businesses, because I see it's across the board in management teams, because they're busy and they're driving the boat and they're trying to be forward focused. But what people don't they just fluff over the fact that the most important resource in your business is your people.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, they're running it for you. And the only way you'll be able to step away and not worry about things is if you have good, developed people. And you either need to pay extremely well and have somebody come in and hit the ground running with all the knowledge. Or if you don't have that budget to pay well, then you need to invest the time in that person to develop them into who you need them to be to help you run your business. So you're paying either way. You're either paying a lot of money or you're paying with your time. And both are okay. It's just knowing that. I think sometimes people don't pay the premium and expect people to just come in and do it and know all the things. And communication is so neglected, but so important.
But I think as well, if you don't have the budget, I think it's really important, because when you are training people in, and I'm speaking about this quite a lot with people at the moment, is, I spend a lot of my time training people. And when I go from boss to coach to trainer, I tell them.
Mm-hmm.
So I might go, look, we need to do X, Y, Z, and they get to Y and they're stuck. So I'm like, okay, at this point, I'm going to stop being your boss. I'm going to become your trainer now. And let's do a training session because it's really important to break down that time. It's also important for them to understand that as well.
Yeah.
Just because you're a boss doesn't mean you have the right to suck the boss dry of all the information. The boss wants to nurture you. Like I said earlier, I train people to leave me. That's my role. And some people get upset when people move on, and I'm like, well, that's what you trained them for.
Yeah.
Sure, you didn't want to keep them for like 10 years. Some places do, but but most of the work that I do is about training people to leave. But I do let them know when I'm going into training mode, because they can feel then the difference between me as a boss and me as a teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get that. That's important too, because I think, especially if it's a younger person who's maybe a little bit lacking in confidence, if they don't understand something and their boss is showing them, they might have that fear and just pretend. And I can tell, when you're telling somebody how to do something and you just have this vacant stare, and I'm like, do you understand? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I know you don't. So I try to get them to explain it back to me. And then, but I think coming from a boss, there would be way more reason for them to think, oh, I need to know what I'm doing. She's going to think I'm shit and I don't know what I'm doing. Whereas when it's a trainer or a coach, it's okay to not understand, because you're there to be trained.
100%. And I'm always saying to the girls as well, look, always tell me when you don't know, because I really don't mind. I really don't mind, because there's loads of people think everything. There's loads of stuff I don't know. Somebody asked me something the other day. Actually, we were doing a training session, and I said, we'll have to Google that. Well, someone actually asked me a question on my phone this morning, and I was like, I am not Google.
Yeah, I know. I hate it. I see so much. It's like, did you not Google YouTube? YouTube makes the world go around. The amount of things that I'm like, I just go for. I've been asked that a lot as well over the years. It's like, Pam, how do you know all these things? And I'm like, I Google half of them, and I go, I'm really good. If it's online, I will find it. I am that stalker person, if I have a first name and I have an idea of what they do in the county they live in, I would bloody find them. I'm really good at research and finding information online. And it does come very natural to me, and I kind of know how to speak language to search things. I know what to put in to look for it, to find the right information and where to go for it. Like, actually, I don't think people know about this, but I saw a person the other day, like, selling this thing online, and she was like, promising the world, and I get people 10K months, and I'm this multi whatever business owner. I downloaded her accounts for last year because I know where to get them. Because if you're a limited company, your accounts are online. So I went and I downloaded her accounts, and it cost me €6, but it was worth it because I just wanted to see what her accounts were. And anybody can get them. Anyone can get them. Your accounts are online. You're a limited company.
Actually, I met two guys at the weekend, bit of networking whilst I was out, and they do an event, and I don't like the name of the event because it's about money, and they were like, oh, why don't you like the name? And I said, because it just reminds me of all those people on social media going, do you know how easy it is to make 10 grand in a week? And I don't like it. And they were like, interesting. But I said, I like you guys, so we have to have a coffee, because I like what they're doing and what they're trying to achieve and how they're trying to inspire people. They've just listened to a bit of that too much, I think.
Yeah, and it's a culture, isn't it, out there? But you need to listen to it's the context behind those 10K months. Like people might have earned like one 10K month, and then they're saying, and that's a launch and lots of people came in. But if you were to look at that across their year, it's different. And a lot of people talk about it in revenue, not in bottom line profit. Yeah. Because I could have a 10K month and a margin of like 10%, and that's not a 10K month. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And look, yeah, I'm amazed by it all. But anyway, we have to finish up because I have a client. But I want to finish with this and what he says about the leaders. Great leaders are fluid, flexible, and full of fluctuation. Couldn't agree more. They are whatever shape they need to be to complete you and to get you motivated. So we will leave you with that. Next week is our last episode of this series. Mm-hmm. If you have any questions for us, we're going to do a roundup and wrap up the end of the season. And I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has. If you'd be happy, Pam. So we might say that on our social media and bring those questions along with us next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Music used for the opening and closing of this podcast is titled Pleasant Porridge by Kevin MacLeod. IncompeteTech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0. www.creativecommons.org/licenses/by/4.0.